it's Cyn
and Xee,
and today we're reacting to History of Britain in 20 minutes.
All right, guys. Let's get into this video because we're gonna learn right now about, like she said, the history of Britain in 20 minutes. Let's see what they're gonna give to us. All right, here we go now. All right. Look at money line. 3.
The United Kingdom is a nation located in the British Isles, made up of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Thousands of years ago, the Isles were inhabited by long-forgotten pre-Celtic people, known as the Beaker culture, named for their distinctive pottery beakers. Little is known of them, but it has been suggested that these people laid the foundations for the mysterious Stonehenge, a series of heavy standing stones which were transported from 150 miles away and arranged to form a calendar, marking the days of the summer and winter solstice.
Wow.
Over time, waves of Celtic-speaking people arrived from the European continent, who soon came to form the Brittonic, Gaelic, and Pictish people. These people were not a unified people, but were rather many tribes who shared a similar pagan religion, language, and culture. The Romans invaded, conquering what's now England and Wales, but failed to conquer the Pictish tribes to the north. The Romans launched several campaigns into this land they called Caledonia. However, their fortifications were soon overrun and abandoned, and they retreated to Hadrian's Wall. Their conquered lands were incorporated into the Roman Empire, becoming the province of Britannia. They brought Roman customs and laws, improved infrastructure, and connected many towns and cities with Roman roads. When the Romans left, there was a great migration of Germanic tribes. These were the Jutes, Angles, and Saxons, with their language Old English. Their settlement pushed many Britons to areas in Wales, Brittany, and a kingdom known as Dumnonia, while Scotland eventually evolved into 4 kingdoms. The smallest of these were the Scots, who were originally from Ireland, the Britons of Strathclyde, the Anglo-Saxon kingdom of Bernicia, and the Picts of Alba.
4 different kingdoms,
Mm-hmm.
and that, this is not a really huge space.
Mm-mm.
Interesting. Anglo-Saxon.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
For unknown reasons, the Jutes disappeared from history, but the Angles and Saxons eventually formed 7 kingdoms. Wessex, Sussex, Kent, Essex, East Anglia, Mercia, and Bernicia became Northumbria. After the collapse of Dumnonia, the remaining territory of Cornwall fought against the powerful kingdom of Wessex. Cornwall eventually fell under the control of Wessex, but it managed to keep its own culture. Wales at this point was also made up of several separate kingdoms, the largest being Gwynedd in the north, Powys in the east, and Dyfed to the south. The British Isles soon saw numerous Norse raiders from Scandinavia. These were the Vikings, and they began settlement on many of the Scottish Isles, the Isle of Man, and they even founded the city of Dublin in Ireland. The Scots and the Picts then decided to unite under Kenneth MacAlpine to form the Kingdom of Alba. The Kingdom of Alba grew strong over the years, and eventually Strathclyde was brought into the fold. Meanwhile, Danish Vikings arrived in the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms for conquest. After fighting the King of Wessex, Alfred the Great, the Danelaw was formed, a land where the laws of the Danes held influence over the Anglo-Saxons, controlling the region and its affairs. The Anglo-Saxons eventually defeated the last Viking king of York, Eric Bloodaxe, and Athelstan became the first king of the English. Although, the newly formed Kingdom of Denmark would conquer England and even found a short-lived Danish dynasty under Canute. The Norsemen had a dramatic impact on the Isles. It's no wonder some words in the English language have Norse origin. After defeating formidable sea raiders from Ireland, the Western Isles, Scandinavia, and Anglo-Saxon forces from Mercia, Griffith ap Llywelyn subdued his rivals in southwest Wales. Llywelyn became the only Welsh king ever to rule over the entire territory of Wales.
I know that's right. You realize how many invasion into the place?
A lot.
So you had the Vikings,
Mm-hmm.
then you had, what you call them? Shook. No. Dang it, missed me. But I'm like, there were like 4 or 5 different groups or different sets of people that took over.
Defeated by the English Earl Harold Godwinson and killed by his own men, leading to the Welsh kingdoms splitting apart once more. At the death of Edward the Confessor, there was a succession dispute between 4 claimants. Harold Godwinson was elected as king, and managed to defend England from an invasion by the Norwegian king Harald Hardrada. However, Harold had to march his armies south to defend against Duke William of Normandy, who had crossed the English Channel. According to tradition, at the Battle of Hastings, Harold was killed by an arrow to the eye, and the Norman invaders were victorious. The new King William defeated a number of rebellions, built a new design of castles called moat and baileys, and introduced a number of reforms, like trial by combat and the Domesday Book. The Norman dynasty invaded into South Wales and parts of Ireland, creating the Lordship of Ireland. At court, nobles spoke and conducted sessions in the Anglo-Norman language, which endured for centuries and left an incredible mark in development of modern English.
Oh.
After a brief civil war, Henry II would marry Eleanor of Aquitaine, establishing the Angevin Empire, beginning a long rivalry against France. Richard the Lionheart defended much of this territory and also became a central Christian commander during the Third Crusade, achieving considerable victories against his Muslim counterpart, Saladin. Under King John, heavy taxes were imposed on his barons in order to pay for his expensive foreign wars. The barons rebelled and forced John to sign the Magna Carta, a charter that established the principle that everyone was subject to the law, even the king, guaranteeing the...
I remember that from history class, the Magna Carta.
I like that.
Me too, like no one's above the law. Even you, the king, have to follow the laws.
Can you imagine that? Because remember, he was saying he was taking
taxes
so much to pay.
for wars in foreign countries.
So you're oppressing your people
Mm-hmm.
to go do something else.
That they didn't want to do. They want to go into wars. Trust me. Nobody wants to go into war.
But you realize so many invasions took place.
So many wars. Back then, there were a lot of wars when you think about it.
Yeah.
People didn't talk. They're like, we're going to war.
And then you stop to think about it. Like now, you say people don't stop to talk.
No, they just go to war.
But when you look at history, that's how it was too.
It was.
Now that you stop and think about it, I've never looked at it that way until you said it. People never really to talk anything out.
Mm-hmm.
We're heading to war.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting that you said that. Huh. But the Magna Carta, they could have never written anything better.
Yeah.
No one, no matter who you are, is above the law.
And I agree by that.
Wow.
the rights of individuals, the right to justice, and the right to a fair trial.
Wow.
Most of North Wales remained independently ruled by several Welsh princes until 1216, when Llewellyn the Great became the ruler of the Principality of Wales. This would be the case until Edward I, who conquered Wales in 1284, effectively becoming part of England. At the death of King Alexander III, Scotland was left with 14 rivals for succession. After the war, the Scottish magnates asked Edward I of England to elect a claimant. John Balliol was elected king, but was constantly undermined by Edward, who opposed Scottish independence. Edward decided to launch several campaigns to conquer Scotland and depose King John, to which he acquired the nickname Hammer of the Scots. Under a brave Scottish knight, William Wallace, the Scots mounted resistance against the English, defeating them at the Battle of Stirling Bridge. Edward marched north in person and defeated Wallace in battle, but Wallace managed to escape. He was later captured and executed, but his efforts allowed Robert the Bruce to rise up and defeat the English, securing Scottish independence. When the King of France died without an heir, Edward III was technically eligible to the crown, through his mother. The French court denied his claim and instead installed Philip of Valois. Edward paid homage to Philip as he owned the lands of Gascony and was essentially a vassal to the King of France. Due to disagreements, Edward reasserted his claim to the throne and invaded France, beginning the 100 Years' War. The English achieved notable victories at the Battle of Crécy, Poitiers and Agincourt thanks to the technical superiority of the longbow, but was unable to conquer the French with the appearance of Joan of Arc, who lifted the French spirit and turned the tide of the war. Upon the
Joan of Arc. You always hear that.
Yeah.
But the 100-Year War.
That's crazy to think about. 100-year war. And they always, when you think about it too, when a war happens, it's never the presidents or the people in power that go and fight.
No.
Never. Ever. It's just the people that, soldiers, when they enlist people, or those that they, what's it called? When they force you to go in because they're running on people. You know it.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know it.
Oh, like in Korea, where they have to...
They force you in it because they're looking... There's a word for it. We have it. A draft.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, the draft. So basically, most of the time...
It's called conscription.
Conscription.
Listen to my son.
Conscription.
Conscription. That's what it's called, son?
Yep.
Thank
Called
you.
a draft. Maybe that's something different.
You're drafted for the military. Yeah. I've heard that term before. You're drafted.
Okay.
That means you're getting in. You've been called.
Okay.
But conscription. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. But basically, yeah, you never see the people in power, fight on the front lines. Always the people, the citizens that have to fight, and they're the ones that lose their lives. We pay for this stuff. We didn't ask for this stuff to happen.
You're right. I see. You're clocking it from a different angle than I am, because I've never looked at it that way.
Oh.
Which you're correct. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy that you look at it that way.
The death of Edward III, an entire generation was skipped in the line of succession, which prompted bitter rivalry between several claimants. Most notably were the houses of York and Lancaster. Tensions were high until a bloody age of warfare erupted between these two factions in the Wars of the Roses. It's so in-depth and complicated this period will likely become a video of its own. The wars ended with the arrival of the Tudor dynasty, Henry VIII wanting a divorce split with the church creating his own Church of England. This ultimately led to a series of religious differences between future English monarchs. In between his 6 wives and naval adventures, Henry gave Wales representation in Parliament and created the Kingdom of Ireland, but realistically he only controlled an area known as the Pale. In addition, Henry's paranoia and suspicion amounted to tens of thousands of executions, including his friends and wives.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Because of paranoia.
Thousands, not hundreds, but thousands.
Including your so-called friends.
And wives.
And the woman that you're laying down with. You unalive them.
That's crazy.
Henry VIII was something though,
Some Henrys or something. The Henry.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But remember, he was the split between, because he wanted to marry somebody else because he couldn't have a baby. One couldn't birth him the boy.
Oh, yeah.
That it was chaos, and then he beheaded another one. And I'm like, when you stop to think about how much devastation Henry caused, you'll be like,
wasn't he beheaded too? Or is that another Henry?
No, I think he
one of them got beheaded.
I think he was too big or died on his throne. I think, if my memory serves me correct. But Henry was something to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Then he split from the church, did his own thing. Oy, but that is messed up. You slaughter people for no reason at all. That's messed up. That's sad.
During the 16th century, the largest and most powerful empire was Spain, under King Philip II. England, under Elizabeth I, were helping Dutch rebels reject Spanish rule, and many English privateers were also intercepting Spanish silver on its journey back from the New World. This angered the Spanish king, and the final straw came when Elizabeth had Mary, Queen of Scots, executed, because she did not want Scotland falling under Catholicism. The Spanish Armada, consisting of 130 ships, was deployed to invade England. At the Battle of Gravelines, an English victory forced the Spanish fleet to sail around the British Isles before storms in the north of Scotland destroyed the remaining ships. In retaliation, the English, led by Sir Francis Drake, amassed their own armada to invade Spain, but this too became a failed endeavour. Born in this period, William Shakespeare became a renowned poet, playwright, and actor who contributed significantly to English literature.
Yep.
When Queen Elizabeth of England died without an heir, her closest male relative was James VI of Scotland. James was elected as King of England and Scotland in a personal union, although the countries remained separate political entities. As the first monarch to rule the entire island of Great Britain, several assassination attempts were made by Catholic conspirators. One such assassination attempt was the gunpowder plot by Guy Fawkes, who tried to blow up Parliament. After a failed colony known as Roanoke, England established a successful colony known as Jamestown, which would eventually evolve into the 13 colonies. At first, expeditions to the New World were mainly driven by religious motives, which were predominantly to convert the natives to their faith. But colonies became more profitable, as demand for New World crops like tobacco and sugar increased. British ships also made a monopoly on the transportation of captive African slaves that crossed the Atlantic to the Americas. Millions of Africans would...
See, I did not know that religion was the main purpose of them doing explorations. I literally thought it was for the benefits of goods. You know what I mean? Just listening to that, I was like, interesting. I thought you explore because you want goods or, cane or from tobacco or liquor, whatever the case may be from different places. I had no idea that the main purpose was because of religion.
I see what you mean. I remember, of course, they were wanting to push more. What was like Catholicism?
Yeah,
definitely wanted to push more. Teach more people about that, but also as the goods, like, and see what they had to offer. It's not that I know. Like, this is totally off topic from what you were talking about. You just see like the value of life. And it's not that people are just unalive left and right. Like, okay, you're gone. That's it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Value.
No value.
It's still the same today.
It is still the same. Yeah, I'm not going to. It's still the same today.
But you don't hear much about it, even though it's still going on.
Exactly.
Oh boy. Here we go with the slave thing and all.
Was shipped in cramped, horrific conditions to work on brutal plantations in the Americas, and essentially became property to their masters. For 300 years, this practice continued in the British Empire until it was fully abolished in 1833. This period also saw a wave of plantations in Ireland, where Irish lands were confiscated and given to English and Scottish settlers. Tensions would rise between Charles I and Parliament. Following disagreements, conflicts between royal and parliamentary authority within England led to the English Civil War. The country became divided between parliamentarians, known as the Roundheads, and royalists, known as the Cavaliers. Under Oliver Cromwell and the New Model Army, the parliamentarians defeated Charles and executed him for treason. Cromwell became Lord Protector and dissolved the monarchy, but shortly after his death, it was restored under Charles II. Charles II married Catherine of Braganza, and when she arrived from Portugal, she introduced the greatest beverage of all time.
The tea.
Tea had been used by China for centuries, but its arrival in...
Honestly, I didn't see that coming.
One thing I'm best known for
the tea
is the tea.
But look where she's from.
Spain, right? Was it Spain?
I could have sworn they said Portugal.
Oh.
Isn't Portugal part of Spain? Oh, people, don't beat us in the comments.
Dude, I don't think it is. Portugal? No.
Don't beat us in the comment section.
Ain't that part of South America? Sean, isn't Portugal part of South America? Portugal. Is it part of, or is it part of Spain?
No, it's a country in Europe.
Portugal?
Yes.
It has nothing to do with Spain?
Portugal?
I don't think so.
I'm second guessing you, Sean. I'm feeling
What was that?
They've got entirely different languages.
Portugal.
And Spain are two different languages? Okay.
Yeah, Portuguese, Spanish.
Yeah, so I was in Portugal.
My kid's smart. Leave him alone.
We're gonna fact check this right after this video.
Don't come for us, guys.
Yeah.
Don't come for us. How could it just flipped out of my head because we're talking about this tea. It totally slipped my mind where he said she was
You're
from.
probably thinking of Brazil.
That's what I'm thinking of. That's why I'm like South America, South. That's what I'm thinking of.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's continue.
In the 17th century, captured the interest of the English aristocracy and soon captivated every other Englishman. In 1685, a Catholic James II became king in a largely Protestant nation. James's daughter Mary and her Dutch husband William were both Protestant, and many nobles unhappy with the Catholic king invited William to become king. William found considerable support when he invaded, and he was soon crowned King William III in what became known as the Glorious Revolution.
Okay.
Although William's supporters dominated the government, there remained a significant following for James II in the Scottish Highlands. Clan MacDonald of Glencoe was one such group who had not been prompt in pledging allegiance to the new monarch. For this reason alone, 38 members of the clan were murdered in what became known as the Massacre of Glencoe. After Scotland's failed colonial endeavours in Nova Scotia and Panama, and an economic crisis in the 1690s, there was a union between England and Scotland, forming the United Kingdom of Great Britain. The House of Stuart had ruled Britain for just over a century, but ended with the death of Queen Anne. Sophia of Hanover was the granddaughter of James I, and her son George became king. Great Britain soon found itself drawn into several European wars, most notable being the War of the Spanish Succession and the 7 Years' War. Victories in these wars resulted in territory for the empire, particularly in North America, although it resulted in considerable debt. In order to make up for this debt, King George III ordered heavy taxes be placed on the 13 colonies. This, among other reasons, culminated into the American War of Independence, and with financial help from France and Spain, the Americans were victorious. The East India Company, which was founded by Elizabeth I, had grown rapidly, and even operated its own military and controlled a sizable amount of territory. The company had set up fortified warehouses where they traded with many Indian rulers, acquiring important luxuries like textiles and spices. One of the most important cities of all was Bengal, as it had a large taxable population. The governor of Bengal, Robert Clive, ordered that the population grow opium to export to China, instead of growing food, as it proved to be a great source of income. However, when a famine struck, it resulted in the deaths of millions of people. Meanwhile, Captain
To produce opium.
What's opium? Let's ask. What is that?
Drugs.
Oh. Dang.
The way you
Wow.
said it, like, what's opium?
What's opium?
What's opium?
What's opium? Wow, drugs. Wow.
Drugs.
And millions died from that. That is so sad.
Because they weren't producing anything else.
Yeah,
so
but opium. They forgot the food.
Opium.
that's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
The more you sit and listen to history, you say, boy, them people, they don't have no heart.
No.
Have they done good things?
Yes.
Yes.
Good and bad. You always got to take the good and the bad.
But jeez, it's a lot. It's a lot.
James Cook arrived at New Zealand and the southeast coast of Australia, although he wasn't the first to discover the area because of past Portuguese and Dutch explorers. However, unlike the Dutch and Portuguese, Britain claimed it as their new penal colony, known as New South Wales, with the first convicts arriving in 1778. A new threat had emerged from France, French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon had come to dominate most of Europe, but Britain's advantage was that she was an island, and the Royal Navy had become a major force at sea. Invasion of Britain was near impossible, and in a series of coalitions, Napoleon was defeated. By the end of the Napoleonic Wars, Britain was growing rapidly into a superpower based on their supremacy of naval engineering. Furthermore, in Ireland, the Great Famine struck, a disease killing potato plants. Ireland, which had merged with Britain, relied heavily on this crop for food. but the British government forced Ireland to export what little food they had to other areas. Without any aid or food, Ireland's population plummeted by half due to starvation and emigration to countries like the United States.
That is so cold. They can't harvest their potatoes. They're having a hard time doing it, but they're told to export it to other places and receive no support. That is so cold of the government. Oh my goodness, so cold. So cold. I can't see. We'll fix it. I started right from the beginning. Oh, perfect. Thank you. You're going to touch it, not me. I'm just going to tap you, like pause my gift on me.
By half due to starvation and emigration to countries like the United States. Things weren't looking so great in India either, as India was rebelling against company rule. The East India Company had employed many Indian soldiers known as sepoys, who were under the command of British soldiers. These sepoys grew increasingly unhappy, and a revolt soon occurred. Yet it quickly failed due to a lack of unity between Indians. After the rebellion, the British government took direct control, with Queen Victoria being declared Empress of India. During the 19th century, the world was forever changed by the Industrial Revolution. Society was transformed by technological advances and increasing mechanization, and would launch Britain to global dominance. Some of the greatest innovations and inventions were the sewing machine, the fire extinguisher, steam-powered engines and turbines, the electric motor and photography. The telegraph was also a major invention, as a message could now be sent from Britain to India in a matter of hours. The establishment of railways and trains also transformed transport forever. Instead of travelling days by horse and carriage, it now only took a matter of hours by train. Engineering and communication advances not only united the empire, they triggered a manufacturing boom like no other. People flocked from rural areas to city centres for jobs. Productivity reached an all-time high, but the consequences of mass migration resulted in extremely cramped and polluted cities. However, with these problems that were generated, it resulted in an improved sewage system. Newcastle...
Wow, improved sewer system.
Because of influx of people, influx of people.
Yeah.
So they had to fix this.
Yeah, you have, because it's going to stink. But that's really cool, the fire extinguisher. That's pretty cool.
Did you know that?
No, that's really cool. Well, yo, they were working
Sewing
overtime.
machine, trains.
Yes.
And can you imagine when that started booming? Yeah, can you imagine? Within hours, you can get message from one. One time it used to be harsh. You wait months
for a letter. And it could have been lost. Imagine if it was lost.
So that's when the boom came in. Jeez.
Newcastle focused on shipbuilding, Manchester the cotton industry, Liverpool became a major trading centre, Middlesbrough fixated itself on iron and steelworks, the presence of iron ore, limestone and large coal deposits in the West Midlands and South East Wales prompted the establishment of ironworks, and Scotland boomed in the linen industry.
Wow.
The Victorian era also saw a major change in society, as families from the poorest backgrounds gained access to education, although it was much stricter than today's standards. The 1860s also saw the rise of the greatest food combination ever, fish and chips. Towards the end of the 19th century, European powers came together at the Berlin Conference to divide Africa between them. A group in South Africa known as the Boers, who were originally Dutch settlers, proved difficult for the British. The Boers lived in two nations, the Free Orange State and the Republic of Transvaal, and both resisted British rule using guerrilla warfare. To counter this, the British placed many women and children in their tens of thousands into concentration camps, where many died from starvation and disease. Britain became a major player in the First World War, and many men proudly volunteered to serve and protect their country. The Great War, as it was called, saw the use of new technology, such as dreadnoughts, warplanes, artillery, machine guns, grenades, chemical weapons, bolt-action rifles, and the first use of the tank. Many faced horrific conditions in the trenches and witnessed gruesome battles. Millions died, and many returned home shell-shocked by what they had seen.
Mm.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, hold on. That's a creepy.
The empire.
Sorry, that picture. Why just?
Oh, you don't like the picture?
No, I've seen that picture before. It's like wow. Like, he's been through a lot.
Oh, it's over the years, over the centuries, you can see the different changes in warfare
Mm-hmm.
until we get all the way down to when the weapon, actual
Mm-hmm.
artilleries and guns and get involved. I understand a lot of lives were lost when there were bows and spears and all of that, but look at the difference.
It got more deadlier, if I can say.
It's heart wrenching. Just the
Millions. Sorry.
no.
Millions.
It's crazy.
When you think, it's crazy when you think about that. And that's World War One and World War II. Millions lost their lives, and no one really talks about. Well, they kind of do, but not too much about like the PTSD that the soldiers got after that. Like, how do you come back home after seeing your friends die? Like, how do you? I can't. I can't imagine, especially back then in the 1700s, 1600s, the soldiers, what they went through.
And they have no one to come home to talk to.
Nobody. That's why people were drunk. That explains why they were drinking.
They're still going through it today.
Yes. So even today, veterans, they're going through it still. Yes.
Wow. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like I don't know.
The empire reached its territorial height in 1921 after gaining territory from Germany and the crumbling Ottoman Empire. The empire now ruled over.
You see that? Ghana, Lagos, South Africa. Look at me list of my countries.
Look.
I've heard to Africa. Look at London. Look at that small little island.
That invaded. Like they invaded the whole world.
Yes, that's small.
Thing up there.
Still small thing. Like, oh my goodness.
Like a pin.
The whole Australia. Or was it half of it? I think it was the whole Australia too. India. Parts of Africa. Different countries in Africa. Like, wow. A small little island. It's like, that's crazy when you think about that.
3/4 of the world they invaded. That little twat up there. It's crazy to just
crazy.
Wrap that in your head. Like, yeah,
crazy.
That is crazy. See, I'll never look at it. Just looking at it on the map, the way you just pause it, and I'm like, when you look at it, that's a little pin.
Yeah, a little pin. And look at India.
This
India can swallow that country. Like, it can swallow. Like,
wow. You gotta give that due, though, to do that,
That's impressive. It shows the type of skills they had. The
and
type
say,
of military.
Little, but then talawa. That's right there. Yeah, little what talawa. Dang it. Here you go. That's it. Crazy.
Over 400 million people and controlled 1/4 of the world's landmass. But the reality was, Britain could no longer afford to build bases or ships to defend its empire as it had before 1914. Ireland finally managed to break away from British rule and formed the Irish Free State, and shortly after became a republic.
Okay.
The Second World War was more brutal and horrific than the First. Most of Europe had fallen under German occupation, and under Prime Minister Winston Churchill, Britain stood strong during the Battle of Britain and the Blitz. Britain were extremely successful at intercepting and decoding enemy communications, with the likes of Alan Turing, who cracked the German Enigma code.
Smart.
The war ended with an Allied victory, but many nations within the empire felt a desire for independence, and it was clear the empire was about to break. India was one such nation who were ready to declare their independence. Mohandas Gandhi practiced a non-violent approach, and this proved successful, as shortly after India gained independence. The Commonwealth of Nations was formed to improve relations and economic ties with former colonies. This still remains today, with 53 members united by language, history, culture, and shared values of democracy. The British Empire officially ended with Hong Kong, Britain's last colony, being handed over to China in 1997.
97, you know?
Did you know that? I did not know.
That's recent, you know?
Yeah.
That's just the other day.
Yeah, 1997.
Wow.
That ain't that long ago.
That's what I'm saying.
That is not that long ago. Wow.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
No. 1997? That's not that's not too long ago.
That's 27 years.
Look at you doing the math. That's good. I trust you. I ain't doing the math.
You should say, I trust you, I ain't doing that. Because 97, 3 more years to 2000, we're at 2020, we're at 24.
Mm-hmm.
So 27.
Yep. What she said. No, she's right. I do my math like that too.
That's how I know to add.
Yeah, that's how I do it too. Yeah, just
It's crazy though.
it's 1987.
It's recent.
very
China.
recent. I did not know that. Wow.
You live, you learn. You're never too old to learn.
Nope.
The empire committed many atrocities on many different people, imposing their culture and civilization while often wiping out native ones. On the other hand, this brought about globalization and the uniting of the modern world.
Yeah.
And without such innovations and industrialization, the world might have been a very different place.
Yep.
The United Kingdom suffered a small economic recession in 2008, but has since recovered. It is a multicultural society with each region.
That is interesting. The same year that we had a recession, they had a recession too. That is interesting. 2008.
That was when the US haven't.
Yeah.
I wasn't here. Was I here then?
That's the year we came.
interesting.
I think they should come a year afterwards, or is it like 2010? But that's interesting.
I came a year after.
Yeah, so you came in 2009. We're still kind of recession-ish, kind of. But that's interesting. The same year that we have a recession, they also have a recession.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
In retaining a presence of its history and culture. If you ever visit, look out for the Welsh cake, the haggis, the whiskey, the Chelsea bun, the parmo, the Cumberland sausage, the Yorkshire pudding, or the Cornish pasty.
Mm-hmm.
Yummy.
The UK remains a member of NATO, United Nations, and the World Trade Organization, and uses the pound currency. In 2016, a referendum resulted in 51.9% of voters in favour to leave the European Union, although the countries within the United Kingdom became divided on the matter, leading to the many questions of its future unity. Thank you for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, support us on Patreon.
It's interesting when you stop to think about it, like how crazy it is with everything. Like he said, look, they've done a lot.
Yes.
They've caused a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
But where would the world be without them?
Yeah, he said that. It's like we went to a different world, like he said. A whole
Even
different world.
if he didn't say that, think about it. The English language, as you know it,
number one spoken language across the world.
where is it? Where does it start? Where does it? The industrial age.
Yeah.
Where did it begin? Majority of the inventions that change our lives, where did it come from?
Right.
So when you really stop to think about it, yes, there was devastation. Yes, there was heartache and pain. Do we push that aside and say that never happened? No. But you have to give due for the good that was done within that. Remember, they ended slavery as well.
Yes. I believe we did
The
a video on
African
that.
slave trade. It's because of them. Many lives were saved. You understand me? So when you stop to think, so much inventions that I can even, so many, like the culture, our culture, the dynamic of different cultures just merged together. Yeah, they did. Every country have its good and bad, but they did good too.
Yeah, you got to take the good and the bad.
Yeah. That's my 2 cents.
I already gave my 2 cents.
And what's that?
I am appalled. I am like,
This girl is a mess, guys. Anyway, guys, that's it from us. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot to digest. I ain't gonna lie. That's a lot.
It is. It's a lot to process, you know, a lot to take in. But we learned a lot too. Like, you know, with these videos, we learn a lot, and you're never too, like you said, it's never too late to learn.
Just looking at that little twat.
I know so
That
many
little
countries
pin.
that they invaded.
That invaded so many countries. Let me say little, but talawa.
Yep.
It's your girl Z,
And Cyn.
and we're running out of here.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for
Bye.
watching. Don't forget to go in the comment section. Stop with. Tell us what you would like, what you'd like us to react to next. Not only that, guys, hit the like, hit the share. It costs you nothing. Subscribe if you haven't already. Love you guys, and we'll see you that she wave again.
Bye guys. See you guys on the next video.
Bye guys.